Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining tonight's Tuesday Talks webinar. My name is Susan Brown, and I am the Associate Director of Family Programs. It's a pleasure to be hosting a webinar on tonight's topic, SEAL, a lifetime of experiential learning. Tonight, you'll be hearing from Dave Merry, Associate Director for Experiential Integration at SEAL, and Samsu Sala, Media Campaign Producer Co-op at SEAL. During tonight's talk, you are invited to type questions into the Q&A pod, which is on the right side of your screen. Questions will be answered following the presentation. We do ask that you please refrain from posting any personal questions pertaining to your student. If you do have personal questions, please feel free to email us at parents@northeastern.edu. So let's get started. Well, first, thank you for coming tonight to talk to our audience here. I really appreciate it. We're glad to have you.
Thanks, Susan. Yeah, we're glad to be here. We really appreciate it. So Senso and I are excited to have the opportunity to share more about SAIL today. Definitely appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone on the line here. So my name is Dave Merry, and I've worked in Northeastern for a little bit over a decade. Spent most of my time here as a co-op coordinator, helping psychology students prepare for and secure co-op placements and then reflect on those experiences to sort of help shape their professional and personal goals. And then I worked closely with the team that was putting SAIL together, and I became so convinced that this was an important and relevant thing for students that I became part of the team in 2018. So for today's presentation, we're going to give a brief overview about what SAIL is and how it came to be. And then my colleague Samsu is going to talk a little bit about the software platform that supports SAIL. I'll walk through some of the structured experiences that students will have with SAIL during their time at Northeastern, and also some future functionalities that they'll be able to access later this year. And then we'll close on some concrete things that students can do right now to start taking advantage of SAIL. So let's start by talking a little bit about the early development of SAIL. So in 2016, some senior leaders at Northeastern began exploring ways to incorporate the idea of a co-curricular transcript for Northeastern students. And this is the concept adopted at other universities that lists a pre-approved selection of students' activities outside the classroom on their official transcript. These Northeastern leaders wanted to take this idea to the next level in a way that captured students' true learning in a much more authentic way. In 2 years of partnering with faculty and education experts, employers, and students across the university, they developed SAIL. So SAIL stands for Self-Authored Integrated Learning. Self-authorship is sort of a well-developed theory in higher education that describes the process students go through in taking charge of creating their own personal narrative, both in the way they tell the story of their past experiences to themselves and others, and also the level of agency and autonomy they feel when making future decisions. Integrated learning is a concept that Northeastern has been at the leading edge of throughout its history. It describes the ability to transfer skills and knowledge between different contexts of your life. For example, you might gain a lot of experience and competence in conflict mediation while you're on co-op, but have difficulty using that skill in your personal or academic situations. So the ability to understand how your skills are transferable and applicable in different situations is a key aspect of sort of being adaptable and successful in different contexts. So while creating the SAIL framework, we built an extensive list of skills and attributes while talking to educators and employers and other stakeholders that they identified as being critical for students, either in their personal, their academic, or for professional success. And these skills clustered into categories that became the 5 dimensions of the SAIL framework. So the first dimension is intellectual agility, with the emphasis on the word agility. This refers to the ability to use knowledge and skills and experiences flexibly in new and unique situations. The next dimension is global mindset, in which you learn to live and work and communicate with people whose background and perspectives are different from your own, and also to consider the global impact of decisions that you make. Social consciousness and commitment refers to the skills required to effectively recognize the needs of individuals and communities and to make a commitment to construct and engage in social action. Professional and personal effectiveness represents the skills and behaviors necessary to effectively discern life goals, form relationships, and shape personal and professional identities. And then last, and perhaps the most well-received dimension is, in the framework is well-being, which refers to the knowledge, skills, and behaviors needed to live a balanced and fulfilling life. Cutting across these dimensions is a set of foundational masteries, which are skills that are developed and used across your life, and not just in the scope of one of the dimensions. And then there's a layer of disciplinary specific skills. So we recognize that the transferable skills in SAIL are critical in lots of different contexts, but also there are some really specific skills like phlebotomy or database management that aren't captured but are really critical for a lot of student success.
All right, so hi everyone. My name is Sam Susala. I'm a fourth-year student here at Northeastern. I'm a transfer student, so I transferred about a year and a half ago, and I've been here studying media and screen studies, and I'm currently co-oping at SAIL, working as a media producer. I pretty much work on a lot of the media assets that we work with at SAIL, and I'm also an ambassador, so I come to events like this and I talk. So I'm pretty much going to run you through the platform and showing you sort of how the different platforms work and how a student might access these. So whether you're a student, alumni, faculty, or staff, you will land your timeline when you first log in. At Northeastern, everyone is a learner and everyone's an educator, so whatever your role is, you'll have similar access to all this functionality. What you're looking at right now is your timeline, and it has sections for goals, opportunities, moments, and calibrations. And we're going to break down each one of these. Goals are measurable objectives that you set for yourself. These can be short or long-term, personal or professional. Opportunities are all the learning experiences you're capturing, so either classes, co-ops, events, and so on that others create and you join, or experiences that you've had that you want to capture on your own. You notice that there are two sections for opportunities. Learner opportunities are opportunities that you yourself have participated in. Educator opportunities, on the other hand, are opportunities collaborated on by you for others in the SAIL network. Students can create opportunities on SAIL, but they can only be published by a member of the faculty or staff. Moments are important realizations or ideas you want to capture from experiences. We're going to run you through what it looks like to add a moment right after this. And finally, at the very bottom of the screen, you can see calibrations. And calibrations sort of help you assess how you're developing certain skills over time through guided inquiry and survey questions. On this slide, we're going to see what it looks like when you're adding a moment. So if you go on the SAIL platform and you click Add a Moment, this is a page that will pop up. If I wanted to add a moment to capture a particularly insightful conversation with a professor, I would be brought up to a page that looks just like this. After filling out a title, description, and date, I would start to tag the moment with the relevant dimensions, as you can see on the top right. In my conversation with this professor, we talked about intercultural communication. She explained to me the various systemic issues faced by people of another culture. Because of the content of our conversation, I've determined that this conversation touched the intellectual and global dimensions, particularly on the skills of systems thinking, inclusive action, and cultural agility. Because of the steps I took in reaching out to my professor and growing that important relationship, I also tagged the moment with the professional dimension, focusing on the skills of networking in particular. To finish up, I can tag the moment with some foundational masteries. So here I tagged it with humility, communication, help-seeking, and initiative. I can even attach a digital document or picture if particularly relevant to the moment. Going through this quick process allows an individual to further reflect on an experience and save it for later, picking up on all the nuance and learning opportunities that might have been missed if just gone through it like really quickly and not recorded. This page is the opportunity finder, and it's another big aspect of SAIL. So on this page, you can search through all the opportunities available across Northeastern and beyond, with the ability to filter based on specific details, such as skill dimensions or keywords. It's a great way to find out what's going on around campus, as well as employment opportunities, co-ops, and courses. So all these boxes you're seeing are specific opportunities, events, or employment opportunities that are available at Northeastern right now. This page is the skills visualization, and here you can visualize the skills DNA with your strengths and weaknesses by viewing all the skills you're developing and the way you engage them, either actively, passively, or generatively. This is a great place to understand where you're growing and what you want to work on. So for instance, for me, I'm really strong with systems thinking. I have a lot of courses or opportunities that I've engaged with that touch on systems thinking. However, I'm not really great with the money, so the financial literacy is kind of low. This next page is our Connect and Advise page. So on the Connect and Advise tab, you can connect with the entire Northeastern SAIL community. Creating groups to organize your connections, you can search for anyone that has made themselves visible to the community. This includes all faculty, staff, students, and alumni. You can even communicate with advisors or act as an advisor to someone else in the community. Finally, these are some screenshots of what it looks like through our app. So we have a sale app, which is available for iOS and Android. And the app provides a streamlined experience where you can do many of the things available in the web platform, along with some new visualizations and interface. On the left is your 360 visualization. So this is pretty much similar to Skills DNA as another way of visualizing the different skills that I'm learning and the different skills that I'm focusing on. In the middle, you can see the timeline. So just like the first slide we showed you about the timeline, this is what it looks like on the web version. As you can see, we highlighted Off-Campus Fest, which was last week, and it's in the app. And on the far right, you can see the Opportunity Finder, where I would go through and find new opportunities to engage with, to participate in, and sort of find out more information about. And we're going to go back to Dave now.
Great. So as you can tell from Samsu's presentation there about the SAIL platform, it's a great way for students to find learning opportunities, to capture the learning that they encountered during their time at college, to understand better some of the connections between what they've done during their time, and then to be able to express that to other people. And that's really the path that we want to help students through. If you think about what it would be like to have 4 years worth of your experiences and your thoughts about those experiences at your beck and call, tagged to certain strengths and skills in different visualizations, that's really the powerful sort of set of tools that we want to provide to students. So the benefits of SAIL become more apparent the more you engage with it over time, and therefore it's been important that students have structured experiences with it at key points in their times at Northeastern. So during the first year experience, it's critical for students to become familiar with the ideas and reflective practices around SAIL. This year's incoming class was invited to participate in SAIL webinars after they received their offer letters. They were then guided through exercises and experiences during orientation to help them get started with the concepts and with the platform. The residential programming curriculum through Res Life has been tied to learning outcomes based in the SAIL dimensions. Some RAs and the residence calls are also putting on programming to help students become more familiar with the benefits of capturing and reflecting on their experiences through SAIL. First semester students each take 1 credit intro to college classes or first year seminar courses, and SAIL is a part of the curriculum for many sections of that course this semester. And academic advisors have incorporated SAIL language and goal setting activities into their first semester meetings with students. The Student Affairs Unit has committed to entering all of its programming into the SAIL Opportunity Finder so that students are able to capture the many different ways that they're engaging in learning outside the classroom. Student organization leaders are also being coached on how to post opportunities in SAIL and how to help their organization members be more reflective about the skills they're gaining outside the classroom. Those same student organization leaders, along with RAs, orientation leaders, Husky ambassadors, and other student leaders across Northeastern, are being trained in how to leverage SAIL to reflect on and express the different skills that they're gaining in their leadership roles as well. Global experiences are a key time to engage in new skills and opportunities, so students participating in NUN, Dialogues of Civilization, Study Abroad, and Global Co-ops will get additional coaching on how to capture, reflect, and leverage on the unique learning experiences that they have while they're abroad. And lastly, co-op and career advisors are thrilled to see a university-wide initiative that helps students focus on growing, understanding, and expressing their engagement in a robust set of transferable skills. These practices are not only key in securing a first job out of college, but in navigating the increasingly unknowable paths between subsequent jobs and career paths. So one of the core goals of SAIL, along with helping students find, capture, and understand the learning that happens across all aspects of their lives, is to help them express their learning and abilities to others in a manner that's both self-aware and targeted for a particular audience. We're excited about a new module coming to the SAIL platform later this year called My Story, which is aimed at helping students do just that. So this module will enable users to manipulate and filter their experiences, goals, and reflections in order to see new patterns, create new connections, and ultimately tell a targeted and effective story. So this mock-up here on the screen shows a student who has laid out their co-op experience and co-op reflections, along with the last meeting that they had with their supervisor, to demonstrate how they learned the importance of balance and well-being for professional success. And they also laid out the next steps that they took to act on that, in this case, joining the running club. This next mock-up shows a student preparing for one of their goals, securing a co-op at JP Morgan, and then creating a Venn diagram where they lay out the various experiences they've had that built on leadership, strategic thinking, and industry skills. This is a great way to prepare for an interview and to make yourself stand out as uniquely qualified, prepared, and also a self-aware candidate. One great feature of this new module is that students will be able to create a unique URL for each targeted story that they create, along with all of its associated notes, so that they can then share that with peers, mentors, advisors, faculty members, or really anyone that they'd wish.
So, how do you engage your student with SAIL? Firstly, one of the things we like to emphasize and we like to suggest people do when they get into the platform is to set some goals. So goal setting has a lot of value in it for three main reasons. So if you set a goal when you first get into Northeastern, you'll be able to see that, especially if it's a long-term goal, you'll be able to see that throughout your whole time at Northeastern and be able to work on it in all your courses and connect it to all the different opportunities that you're having on campus and off campus. Secondly, finding opportunities help you to reach that goal. So by engaging with the opportunity finder, you'll be able to find ways that you can grow towards your goal. And thirdly, goal setting is a great way to reflect on your past experiences, and it'll help you to reflect on your learning as you go throughout the platform and throughout your time at Northeastern. Secondly, we encourage people to reflect on past opportunities. So I know this especially because I'm a transfer student, and when I came in last year, like I mentioned earlier, I came with a lot of experience and a lot of opportunities that happened in the past, but I didn't really know how to contextualize them. So I found real value in the SAIL platform in being able to input all of my past opportunities and think about them in the SAIL framework. There's great value in reflecting on and recontextualizing these past opportunities. Everyone's coming to university with a whole host of experience and knowledge, and that's why they're chosen to come to this university. And so with that knowledge, it's great to be able to recontextualize it and better understand the way that you're growing as a person and where you want to grow to. So if you're interested in learning more about SAIL, you can find us online at sail.northeastern.edu. If you want to know more about the skills glossary specifically, you can visit sail.northeastern.edu/glossary. If you know a student who's interested in being a part of creating the SAIL platform and giving direct feedback to the people who are working on the SAIL platform, they could join the SAIL Student Advisory Board and just email us at sail@northeastern.edu. And you can also follow us on Instagram at sail@northeastern, Facebook Northeastern SAIL, and any questions you have after this webinar, or if you just want to reach out to SAIL, you can do that through sail@northeastern.edu. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience, Sue. That was really interesting to see how you use the platform. So at this time, we are going to begin taking questions. If you have any questions about the presentation, as I mentioned earlier, on the Q&A pod, you can just type your questions in, and Dave and Sue will be happy to answer any of them. While we're waiting, Sue, how long have you been using it personally?
So in my first year here at Northeastern, it really wasn't as available to students. So I came into it through the co-op program through a short little experience in it. And I know people who have used the platform for sort of figuring out more about their co-op and connecting with people who've done similar co-ops and sort of charting their course throughout finding an interview or charting towards the things that they want to do in the future. But I really hadn't used it to a great extent until I was really starting to apply to this job. And I found great value, like I said, in being able to input my past opportunities. It was a place that I could really reflect and use it as like a journaling tool almost. Because, I mean, I don't think that students nowadays, I don't know ever, but students aren't really like taught to reflect in very meaningful ways that happen across context. So when you have sort of a platform like SAIL that is pretty much just doing that, it's pretty much integrating all your learning, and it's pretty easy to learn. It's all very effective, and it helps you really understand who you are as a person, where you're growing towards, and sort of understand everything that's going on around you.
It's always good to reflect on that time here at Northeastern.
Yeah.
Someone's asking us a question regarding the time here at Northeastern. What happens after when the student graduates? Can they still use this platform?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're really excited that students are able to sort of continue using it. We started working with alumni services to have current alumni use it, and really any member of the Northeastern community can access SAIL and utilize it. We think the real value is going to happen when students who start to use it robustly now, like Sensu's using it, graduate. So they sort of come with a full docket of their experiences and their reflections. They can continue to add to that after they graduate. And so absolutely, I'll stay with them. I can also say that students see a lot of value in it, but as Sensu said, everyone's a learner in this context. So staff and faculty members here also utilize HRM has been putting their learning experiences in for us into sales, so we can sort of contextualize how we're growing and learning over time. So it really is set up for anybody throughout the course of their life, alumni especially.
So can students post like photos in there of their experiences?
Yeah. So,
And could you maybe give us some examples, like when a student would do that?
yeah. So, for example, we had a scavenger hunt that went through during Fall Fest, and during Fall Fest, if we were talking to students and suggesting that they sort of record their interactions with different clubs and tables at Fall Fest. So basically, you could go to a table and they could record a moment, quickly just jot down something interesting, something that was impactful about that table, why it was interesting to them or important. And you could take a picture real quick and you could post it on the thing. Of course, everything is, you have the choice to make something public or private. So it's not necessarily going to be out there for everyone to see. It can be just for you to see. But you can post a picture, you can attach documents that are important or relevant to that specific moment or interaction or opportunity, and pretty much record a whole lot of media around that as well.
Yeah, I think one really cool application of that was one of our early adopter co-op coordinators asked their students to take a picture once a week or once a month while they were on co-op and to write a little bit about how they were feeling at that point. And then at the end, they combined all those together and sort of told a narrative about how they grew over time. And what's great about that, and like you said, Sansu, nobody's really a great reflector these days. No one's sitting down and journaling, or I shouldn't say nobody. I'm not. And so having that structure of saying, what did I feel like on my first week of co-op and how did I grow throughout that time, and having some visual documentation of it too was great. The real power for that, though, was this next year, because she started early, the students who went back to it this year, they were looking for their second co-op, and they were feeling nervous. She had them look back at those stories and see how much they had grown the first time. And so it even had,
so say if you're going abroad.
Exactly, for all sorts of situations where they're doing that. So again, the value of this not being just associated with one class, but just your entire experience, is that you can look on it in that sort of that broader time frame too.
Dave, you talked a little bit about how when freshmen starts in, how we're introducing it during orientation and admissions process. Someone's saying it seems like a lot to put on them at first. Can you talk a little bit about some of how it's to the student's advantage and how it can slowly be introduced into the...
Yeah, no, it's a lot. And a good thing about sales is it does a lot of things. And a difficult thing about sales is it does a lot of things. And so the way that we start introducing to students, one thing we learned early on is that you can't lead with the app. We did a pilot group with some honor students, and we said, try this app out. And they said, what's it for? We said, oh, right. And so it was really good feedback to say it's really the idea of sale, the idea of thinking about the skills that are embedded in the things you do every day and reflecting on those. That's the important part. And the app is really just a tool. So at orientation, we had one of our colleagues, Michael Sweet, did an activity called the Spirit of Sale, where students thought back about an important lesson they learned from somebody that changes the way that they act with people today. So for example, maybe they thought back to how their dad demonstrated empathy at one point, and to this day it helps them demonstrate empathy in other situations. And what he said, the conclusion was, that's experiential learning. We're learning from experiences every day, but it takes those moments of thinking about it and really reflecting on it, and sometimes the language to pin it to help us be really good at it. And so that's the theory behind SAIL and sort of the impetus. And so I think it was really important for students to become better experiential learners. They have to, and all of us have to, take that time to think about what am I learning and how can I use it in new ways.
Can you use it somehow in your professional career, in your resume, after you graduate? Like, what would be some of the advantages of that?
Yeah, so I think all of us have the experience of going to write our resume after 5 years and say, what did I do again? And so this is a great way to say, well, let me pull up my skills visualization, so that skills DNA, and I want to talk about my 3 key skills I built. So strategic thinking, problem solving, and cultural agility. Let me click into those and find all the things I did there and piece those out. So it's a way of really tagging your experiences and reflecting on them for yourself in a way that you can call back to and utilize in lots of different ways, whether it be writing a resume or we talk a lot about people who are job changing. So I don't like what I'm doing now, but I don't know what I want to do instead. And so pulling those things back out and saying, well, I've been keeping track of things over time. Let me mess around with it, look through it, and make some more sense out of it. And so that's another aspect where people find we anticipate. I think right now we're really focusing on a lot of the student experience, but it's built so that people could find that value in it as well.
So you had said that there's a student advisory group, I believe?
Yeah.
Students can pick. What kind of skills are you looking for, or what do you know for some students?
If you are, we had a meeting last week our first meeting of this semester, and we got a couple new, or a lot of new faces of the meeting. It's pretty much if you're driven, if you care about sort of the way that higher education is changing, if you're interested in making an impact on this campus, if you're interested in sort of having a voice and figuring, and especially like, I think it would be very applicable to someone who's interested in any sort of ideation or creative endeavor, really. Mm-hmm. It's a great opportunity to be in like a room talking to people who are making actual initiatives and they're working on actual product that will be visible to university. You're in really cool conversations, and they've already made like a really big difference, the feedback that we've got from that group specifically, because they're our sort of closest touch point to students aside from me. So yeah, it's a great sort of opportunity to go through.
Yeah. I'd say there's really no other school that's doing exactly this. This is sort of unique, and so it's being built from scratch, from the ground up. And so, yeah, exactly. A type of student who wants to be involved in something like that, and who's really not afraid to give feedback and say, students wouldn't use that, do this instead. Yeah. We love hearing that.
That's so helpful.
Yeah. And so students who want to be part of shaping that process, like you said.
Also, students who want a free meal once a month.
Free meal once a month. Yeah, we know what we're doing. Yeah.
So we have a parent asking, are there templates for mapping, for example, the moments, or is there a certain skill set the students do? Are they mapping this themselves?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways that you might come to mapping a moment. I think it takes a really special person to have an insight and go, aha, I want to map this and to know what skills to map it. That's what we're aiming for. Another way is that, some instructors have been saying at the end of each class, like, hey, take a moment and map this. And they've been giving some scaffolding around thinking about what skills are important right now. So sometimes you learn something really important, but you need the language. You need to kind of cycle through some of the words there to be like, you know what? This was strategic thinking. I wouldn't have called it that before, but that's what I just experienced. So having that menu of skills can be helpful when you're doing that. And then lastly, the system allows advisors to prompt students for particular questions. So on co-op, starting soon, we'll be having co-op reflections go out directly through SAIL. And so, it'll sort of be something where we say, talk about a way that you've grown, and the questions may be general or specific, but it'll provide that scaffolding because, I think you need to sort of build up to being being able to do it completely in a vacuum.
Yeah, I think that, like, I've been sort of a test subject for that in a sense. Yeah. Like, I know that my advisor is really close to the SAIL team, and so she's been prompting me to reflect on certain moments, like, how was the first week of your new job? Like, what are you learning about sort of your network and colleagues, and how to function in an office environment. So being able to, like, for someone to prompt you to say, like, hey, think about this, it's really helpful, and it's one way that I do that. But the other thing is that, like, with the phone, with the app, a lot of it is built to be very quick. So, like, even if you're just, like, running somewhere, rushing real quick, and you just notice something real quick, and you find that there's a moment that's impactful or meaningful, but you don't necessarily have time for it, you can just quickly jot it down, click a few buttons, and you have it for later. You can come back to it later to expound or just leave it like that is.
So someone's asking, is there a way to string those activities together to help determine what a student would be good at or what their interests are?
Yeah, I would say that, so some of the people who are excited for, so when you say string together, the visualization that comes to mind for me is the My Story, and that's those notes and lines. And so I'm excited to see that. And some other people who are eager for that are people in the career design office and academic advisors as well. So it's not built right now to be predictive, to say, you said these things, you should be a mechanical engineer. But it is, we'd be making a lot of money on it if we could do that. But it is sort of another tool to say, for a student who says, I don't really know what's up, for them to say, let's take a look at what you've been doing and thinking and liking and not liking and learning over the past year. In a way that's way more robust than your course record. And to say, well, I see that you really had a lot of, growth here in sort of this helping profession. Have you thought about taking your mechanical engineering degree in a different direction into something more, biomechanical, et cetera? And so it's another sort of tool to provide something to point at and touch and talk about when you're having those, what should I do for my career, what should I do for a major type of conversations.
Can you spend just a little time explaining to some of our parents and students how opportunities are posted in SEAL and how, like this, I know you said student affairs is incorporating everything in there from Res Life and everything, but how are all the opportunities posted in there?
Yeah, so it's right now it's a pretty manual process, and which has been great because there's a piece as an educator where you're asked what skills will people gain from this, this experience. And I'll tell you, I teach a course, every semester, and I know what I want students to get out of it. I have this gut feeling, and I've written some learning objectives, I guess. But when I had to sit down and say, like, no, really, what are the specific things that students are going to get out of this course? It made me actually change some of the way I taught some of those lessons. And so all that to say is that it's a little bit of a manual process, but a lot of educators have said, I'm glad I did that because now I can say that Fall Fest isn't just, whee, Fall Fest. It's a time to build community for students to gain some self-efficacy around what they can do on campus. And so it provides some of that language and some direction for the way they can build that. So, yeah.
Something great about that as well, I think that empowers students a lot is that I mentioned just sort of briefly, but students can also create opportunities through the SAIL network. Like you could put your own opportunities in. If you wanted to create a club around sewing, if you wanted to create like sort of an event to get together to watch a TV show that you thought was particularly interesting or impactful to you, you could do that through the SAIL platform with like the use of a collaborator, like a member of the faculty or staff. So
they can't post that themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need someone there like to help you to like say like, okay, this is chill.
And that's one of those things we're working through. So there have been some student leaders who are posting a bunch of things, and we said, well, let's give this person special access. And again, this is growing and changing over time, and I think we want it to be a safe space. We want to sort of not give carte blanche access to people posting a bunch of stuff, but also we're saying, well, let's, what would it look like in a world where maybe students had more? And so that's one of those things. You're totally right in the way it works now, and that we're constantly evaluating what would a different policy look like. But,
So we have time for a few more questions if anyone has any. And like I had said earlier, if you have a question that you want to address personally, please feel free to email either the SAIL office or parents@northeastern.edu, and we'll make sure those questions are answered. So I'll just give it a few more moments. This last slide up here is all our contact information for our office. What is open to students versus open to public?
Okay, so the things that are open to students, does that mean like more specifically like what the students post or like what is like visible?
I think they're saying like can other people outside see those opportunities is how I'm interpreting. I could be wrong. But
no, that's a good question.
I think that was one of the big things that we talked about, that was talked about, this was before I came to SAIL, but that was talked about in the student advisory boards, or I've heard, is like what privacy and like how privacy was gone through, because obviously there's great value in SAIL by making your things public, because you can connect with other people in the network and you can see what they've done and basically sort of either form yourself after them or see the way that they've grown and understand better about the way you're growing. But it's up to you completely, and you have a lot of, if you go into the settings for SAIL, you have a lot of options as to what is public, what is private. And you can even make things just public for your advisor. So like it's just you and your advisor know about it,
okay.
And not necessarily the whole university knows about it. But if you want to share something specifically with your advisor and you want them to help you sort of curate an opportunity or curate the way that you're learning, you can share it in that way. So it's a lot of control over it. It's basically all to the student, and everything is automatically on private.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I would say that if students need to opt in to the SAIL network to begin with. That was a big decision we made right off the bat. And yeah, everything is defaults to private, and so students opt to make it public. Just want to reiterate that. I think it's a really good point.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I do want to just ask our audience again, if you have any questions, let us know. Please feel free to email us. And shortly, when we close this out, we are going to be we ask that you complete a brief survey on tonight's session, and we also are always looking for your feedback on future webinars. So when you do the survey, take a few minutes, maybe suggest some topics that you would like to see within this academic year. I thank you so much for attending tonight, and we appreciate your participation and feedback, and we'll be seeing you soon on further webinars. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.